Your parents told you three things: buy a house as soon as you can, never touch your retirement account, and save your money. If you followed all three, you are behind by over $1 million and you don't even know it yet. Same salary, same 20 years. The only thing that changes is whether you followed the advice or didn't. Let's run the math. Sam is 25, good salary, some money saved, zero debt. His dad bought a house in the late 80s for less than $100,000. His mortgage was comfortable, maybe a quarter of what he brought home each month. The advice made sense at that number. Sam buys the same type of house in 2025, and the price has more than quadrupled. His mortgage alone eats through most of what he takes home. Add property tax, home insurance, and maintenance, because nobody tells you about maintenance when they tell you to buy a house. And Sam is spending nearly 3/4 of his income on housing before he buys a single meal, fills his car, or pays a single bill. The money he has left to actually build wealth, to invest, to save meaningfully, to make his future self less dependent on a paycheck, is almost nothing. And here is what his parents never told him. In the first year of that mortgage, almost every dollar he sends to the bank goes straight to the lender as interest. He is paying an enormous amount every month and barely chipping away at what he actually owes. The house is not building Sam's wealth. The bank's is. His dad never experienced this because at a fraction of the price, the math looked completely different. Same principle, completely different reality. And Sam has no way of knowing that because nobody ran the numbers for him. Rule 2. A few years in, something breaks in the house. A repair bill arrives that Sam cannot comfortably cover. He has no emergency fund because every dollar of his savings went into the down payment, and his tiny monthly surplus has barely rebuilt anything. He is sitting with a broken boiler, no buffer, and two bad options. He can put it on a credit card at a punishing interest rate, or pull from the 401k and take the early withdrawal penalty plus income tax on top of it. His parents were very clear on this one. Never touch the 401k. Never. Not for any reason. So Sam puts it on the card. By the time the balance clears, he has paid hundreds of dollars in unnecessary interest on top of the original repair bill. Money that went to a bank because he had no cushion. Money that could have been invested. But the real cost of Rule 2 is not the interest. It is the assumption buried inside the rule. His parents told him never touch the 401k because they had a pension, a guaranteed monthly income paid to them in retirement regardless of what the market did, regardless of anything outside their control. Their retirement account was a bonus sitting on top of a guaranteed floor. Touching it early was genuinely reckless in that world because they did not need it to survive. The pension was already handling that. Sam has no pension. Almost nobody his age does. Pensions have nearly vanished from the private sector over the last few decades. Sam's retirement account is not a bonus sitting on top of something else. It is the entire plan. The floor, the ceiling, and everything in between. And the rule he inherited was written for a world where that floor still existed. Nobody updated it when the floor disappeared. Rule 3. Sam saves a little every month in a savings account at the same bank his family has used for decades. The interest rate is almost nothing, less than 0.5% per year. And he feels good about this. He is being responsible. He is not spending it, not gambling it, he is saving it. The problem is that his parents saved the same way in an era when savings accounts paid real returns, sometimes 6, 7, 8% a year. Back then, keeping money in the bank was a legitimate way to grow wealth. You could genuinely get ahead just by leaving money alone in a standard account. That world no longer exists. Today, inflation moves faster than the interest Sam earns, which means in real terms, in actual purchasing power, his savings are quietly shrinking every single month while the balance ticks up by a few dollars and makes him feel like he is doing the right thing. And when Sam says he does not want to invest because his dad lost money in the stock market and that investing is just gambling, he is not being irrational. That experience was real. But his dad was picking individual company stocks or paying someone else a fat fee to do it. Both genuinely risky, both genuinely expensive. Today, Sam has access to something his dad never had. A simple fund that owns a tiny slice of every major company in the country all at once, costs almost nothing to hold, and has never permanently lost money over any 20-year period in history. Not stock picking, not gambling, just owning the entire economy and holding it. His dad could not have pointed him to this because it barely existed for regular people when his dad was giving advice. He gave the best he had. But the cost of that gap over 20 years, even on the small amount Sam has left to invest each month, is over $100,000. Same discipline, same amount saved, $100,000 difference just from where the money sits, a decade in. Sam's house has grown in value and he has built up a significant chunk of equity, the portion of the home he actually owns. He points at this number in every conversation about money. It is real, it is large, and it feels like proof that the plan is working. But here is what that equity actually is. In practical terms, it is completely locked. He cannot spend it. He cannot invest it elsewhere. He cannot use it to handle a crisis or take advantage of an opportunity without either selling the entire house or taking out a loan and paying interest to borrow his own money back from a bank. It exists entirely on paper until he makes a major life decision to unlock it. Meanwhile, his actual liquid savings, the money Sam can use on any given day without selling anything or triggering any process, is barely anything after a full decade of disciplined saving. That is the real number, not the house, the money he can actually reach. The alternative path, the person who rented and invested consistently since 25, has built up a portfolio nearly 12 times larger in money that is completely free and accessible on any given afternoon. Sam's total wealth and that portfolio are not wildly different in size at this point, but they are completely different kinds of wealth. One is locked inside walls, one is free, and from here the gap only widens. 2 decades in. Sam is in his mid-40s. The house is worth a lot, and on paper, he looks like he made all the right moves. His equity after 20 years of mortgage payments looks impressive, but to actually touch that money he has to sell. And selling means paying a realtor, triggering a tax event, and then needing somewhere to live in the same market he just sold in. His truly liquid wealth, the money in his savings account that he can actually access and use and retire on, is not enough to stop working, not even close. He is in his mid-40s and financially stuck inside a house. The alternative path, same salary, renting instead of buying, investing the difference consistently every single month for 20 years, has built a portfolio worth over $1 million, liquid, accessible, compounding every day. The gap between Sam's accessible wealth and that portfolio is over $1 million. And it did not come from one catastrophic mistake. It came from 3 small pieces of advice that felt responsible, came from love, and were never updated. Now, before you finish this video convinced that Sam's parents gave him bad advice, hear the defense, because it is legitimate and it matters. A paid-off house is genuinely powerful. When Sam eventually owns the house outright, his monthly housing cost drops to almost nothing. A person who has rented for the same period of time is still paying full market rent, and that rent has gone up every single year. Over a long retirement, not having a housing payment is worth an enormous amount. Expenses Sam simply never has to pay. The security of owning your home outright, knowing no landlord can raise your rent, that you cannot be displaced, that your housing cost is essentially fixed for life, is real, and it has genuine value that does not show up cleanly in any comparison. Sam's parents were not wrong about that. The problem was never owning a home. The problem was the sequence. Buying the most expensive house you can qualify for the moment you start earning. Draining every dollar of savings for the down payment. Spending most of your income on housing through the most critical wealth-building years of your life. That sequence is what turns a house from an asset into a trap. Sam's dad could follow that sequence because homes were affordable relative to income. The math worked then. It breaks now. The 3 rules are not wrong. They are just running on assumptions that quietly stopped being true. Assumptions about what homes cost relative to what people earn. Assumptions about what a savings account actually returns. Assumptions about guaranteed pensions that have almost entirely disappeared. Change any one of those assumptions to reflect the world Sam actually lives in, and the advice changes completely. Nobody did that update. The advice passed down, intact, unchanged, completely sincere. And sincerity does not protect you from $1 million gap. Which piece of financial advice are you still following because someone you trust gave it to you that you have never once sat down and proved?